Hi everybody, welcome to today's shoulder mobility class. We're going to be focusing primarily on internal rotation and external rotation of the shoulder. The reason that we do this is because it's the fundamental joint motion of the shoulder. We also focus on extension. This is needed for a lot of different types of exercises like push-ups, dips, and also to have overall shoulder function like reaching behind you. It may look like we're just stretching, but also we are strengthening as well. So this class is going to pull a lot of effort out of you. If you want to make your stretching and your mobility work more effective, a lot of times you need to add in more intensity. So we coach you through that. And if you like this class, check out our Learn Mobility membership, where we have guided kin stretch classes, tutorials, and routines just like this one. Click the link in the description below to explore all we have to offer. Without further ado, let's get to the class. All right, let's get started. We can be in a collapsed kneeling position. If you cannot sit on your feet and knees at this point, you can also just sit into a chair. We're not going to be here for too long. Go ahead and take your arms, lift them up about 90 degrees, and then bend your elbows about 90 degrees. Keep your wrists straight and start to focus your energy and slowly go through internal rotation and then external rotation. We call these capsule cars, controlled articular rotations. The goal here is to try to access the deepest stuff in the joint. As we're doing this, try not to move your wrist up. So when you go to extension or external rotation, don't let your wrist extend. And the same thing when you go down into internal rotation, don't let your wrist bend. Only stop as far as you feel the shoulder joint moving. So if we start to go too far below and we have the scapula rise to the ears, we've gone too far. Now start to make a fist in both of your hands, about 50% of your energy, and then slowly go through that range of motion.
So we're trying to keep the elbows right where we started.
Exactly. And also because we're not using any external load, we have to provide the internal load. So throughout the whole class, we'll be telling you to get tense, get tight. We call that internal loading, and that's needed so that we can make a stimulus in the joint. All right, let's transition to a tall kneeling position. You can take that yoga block, put it between your knees just so you have something extra to squeeze. We'll start off with double shoulder car, so extend your arms as far as you can, keep your elbows straight, and then slowly try to trace the biggest circle you can, only using your shoulder. Once you get to that shoulder flexion, internally rotate and reach back. Oh, you're touching my hand. And then the same thing reverse. So during the warm-up, one thing we want to keep in mind is that it's also an opportunity for us to assess our joint and scan, just how ready we are to train today, if we have any tight areas or anything surprising. So your warm-up isn't just something that you want to kind of just rush through just to get through it. But at the same time, you do want to make sure that you're allocating the right amount of energy to that warm-up so that you have enough energy for the main part of the motion, or the main part of the exercise, of the workout. All right, find full shoulder extension here. Now slowly bend your elbows, and what you're trying to do is reach your hands up as high on your back as you can. Once we're there, take a couple of deep breaths. So try to inhale. As you inhale, breathe through that stretched tissue, exhale. And then again, inhale, exhale. Go ahead and just move around slightly, just taking your elbows and your scapula and your shoulders and manipulate yourself so you can find a stretch in the front of the shoulder. A lot of times when we're stretching, it's important that we learn to customize the position so we have a intention that we're going for. So in this case, we want to make sure we have a stretch somewhere in the front of that shoulder, on both shoulders.
In my case, I kind of feel the stretch when I slide the hands a little bit more towards my sides and bring the elbows forward. Then I really get that nice stretch in the front.
Oh, that's a good one. I actually feel that more too. That's a nice cue. Once you have that stretch, hang out in that position. Just be there for a little bit. Let your body get accustomed to that. You may find that you have a difference in one side versus the other.
I think the hardest thing here is to, stay in that passive stretch.
Yeah, just to let yourself kind of marinate there. Mm-hmm. Concentrate on where you feel that stretched area. We'll start a isometric contraction, what we call a PALS. So think about pressing the back of your hand into your body. Let's say about 20% of your overall effort. So just a very light effort to feel that tissue being engaged. Now ramp up to a 60% effort. So think of half of your effort. You can even squeeze the block between your knees to increase that tension feeling. Now go to about 85%, hold. We're gonna hold this for 30 seconds. or so.
Ooh, 30 seconds.
30 seconds, 85, something like that. Keep holding. Mia doesn't know what to do. Good, 10 seconds left. Keep trying to improve that connection to your shoulder. Hold. And now reverse that effort. We call that a rails. So try to pull your arms away without actually moving your body. You should feel all the stuff in the back of the shoulder have to light up to make that happen. Hold. And for someone like me, I noticed that my elbows were kind of flared in. When I railed, they almost flared out. So try to keep the elbows in the same position.
Oh yeah, that's the hard part.
Yep. Squeeze that block, hold.
Don't give up, keep doing it.
Couple more seconds. And then slowly phase out that contraction. Stay in that stretch position, very nice. So imagine you're in handcuffs behind your back. We're gonna go through some scapula cars. So start off by elevating your scapula. So think about shrugging, protracting, drive your scapula forward, depression, down, and then retraction back. Now turn that into a smooth circle. We'll just be working the same direction for a little bit of time. While you do that, see if you can eliminate some of the elbow motion that comes with that too.
You're trying to slightly press forward or?
Yeah, you can do that. You can slightly kind of press your arms into your back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes it kind of like harder, but.
Stabilizes you too.
Yeah.
And now reverse direction. So we're just trying to explore as much of that capsular workspace, or really scapula, so kind of scapular.
It's
if that's a word. Your scapular workspace while you have this internal rotation constraint. Communication between scapula and shoulder is very important for having just healthy functioning shoulders.
Ooh.
So the more we can challenge that connection, the better.
We're still going?
Yeah, keep talking, we're still going. Okay, from this position, we can slowly let our hands go. Take your time. Hands will go in front of you. We'll go into what's called a quadruped position. So basically a tabletop or all fours. Now let's save some of that work we just did, meaning that we just did a bunch of internal rotation on the shoulders. We're going to actually focus on the right shoulder first. We'll start off with a shoulder car, so extend your elbow. And then slowly try to trace a circle with your shoulder as big as you can. And keeping that isolated in the joint.
Watch out for compensations too. Most likely your spine wants to get involved here.
Right, or the elbow will bend of the standing of the straight arm that's not working. Mm-hmm. So we're getting about 3 slow reps. Think of your shoulders being level with each other, so we don't want to see your thoracic spine rotate. We actually just want to see you try and trace the biggest circle you can while still getting that rotation throughout the circle. So if we start off with external rotation, we go to shoulder flexion, internal rotation, reach behind as back as far as you can, and then just reverse that order. And when you finish that rep, go ahead and get your stick handy. And we're going to go into external rotation. So with external rotation, we want to think about keeping the elbow level to the shoulder, and we'll have the elbow about 90-degree bend. And our goal is to try to find a stretch somewhere in the front of that shoulder from here. Now, Kati has a lot of range of motion, but she still feels a pretty good stretch right here.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And part of that is because she knows how to keep her spine stable. So while you're in this position trying to find this stretch, you want to keep your spine stable. If you have really stiff shoulders, you can start off by letting the hand almost below the ear, but the elbow stays the same height. If you find that you're somebody that has a lot more range of motion, you'll just keep the elbow at the same height, but you'll move your hand up.
So like this?
Yes, if you need to.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, exaggerates that motion.
Yep.
It also helps to keep the chest kind of, aiming to the ground. Because if I start extending my spine, I right away lose the stretch.
Totally. And in our classes, we like to take a little bit of time to show people how to find the right stretch, because if we just go through it and you're not feeling what you're feeling, you're not going to get as much as you can out of the class. So take your time really and find that stretch somewhere in the front of the shoulder. Just like we did before, once you have that position, start to breathe through the stretch, meaning get your body to relax and melt into that position.
Moving into collapse.
Okay.
Quadruped, I feel more comfortable here.
So yeah, you're just going to sit. She's just sitting back on her heels.
Yeah.
and just kind of taking some of the stress out of it.
Me, I like that.
Mia agrees. So bring your attention to that stretched area. We call that the progressive tissue. Start a pales contraction, meaning you're going to try and drive the stick down to the ground as if you're throwing a spear through the ground. Ramp up slowly, meaning that you start to increase your tension, just like we did before. All of that stuff in front of the shoulder, bicep, that stuff should be lit up with tension. Hold. Let's say we get up to about 70 to 80% tension. We're going to hold this for about 30 seconds.
The whole body feels like a fist. All muscles are contributing to the effort.
Very nice. Yeah, even trying to push with your other hand through the ground, that gives you some stability, like stiff arm the ground.
Feel my belly contract in my legs.
Hold. 3, 2, and try to reverse. Think about lifting the stick up, but not lifting your elbow up, as if you're trying to increase more external rotation. You should feel the back of your shoulder stuff light up. You don't want to feel anything in the low to mid back. It means you're probably bending through your back, so back out of that a little bit. You can even think if you were to let go of the stick or slightly loosen some of your grip, could you keep your hand in that same spot? Hold.
Your hand is like yellow. You really were squeezing that stick.
If you got pale fingers, it means you're trying really hard.
So now we just feel the back of the shoulder.
Hold. 3, 2, slowly let that go, melt that away. Beautiful.
Slowly come out though.
Yep, take your time. All right, now we go back to more of a collapse kneeling. So whenever we do our pales rails, we'd like to kind of save the work with doing some kind of car or rotation with that joint. So we're actually going to start off, this is an old move, I think it's called the Egyptian. I haven't done this in many years, but when we were writing this class, I was like, oh, you know what? This is actually a capsule car. It'll be perfect. So start off with both arms externally rotated. Then take your left arm and internally rotate it. So turn it down as much as you can. Then you can look towards your right as you do that, and then reverse now. So turn your right arm into internal rotation. Start to look towards your left. Externally rotate left arm.
I thought we would turn both at the same time though.
Now the cool way is to do one at a time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then switch and reverse.
Okay. I thought the other way was a cool way.
So essentially what we're trying to do here is just almost like you're wringing out a rag. Like you're just trying to rotate as much as you can and reverse. Now there is a little bit of spine as well because you're turning your spine towards the direction that you're externally rotating, which is okay. But keep the motion as much as you can into your shoulders. You know, high five.
You're flowing a little more now. You're doing like both arms at a time.
And just really moving through tension as you do that.
So these are like axial rotations.
Yeah, these are axial rotations. They're a little bit more superficial because we have the arm straight, so you're going to have more superficial tissue versus if the arm was bent, you would get a little bit more into the capsule. But we're just using this as a way to explore that space.
Love it.
Cool. Now let's rinse and repeat what we just did. Start back into our quadruped position. This time we'll be attacking the left shoulder. So we'll start off with several shoulder cars on the left. And it's good to change the body positions of your cars. So if you've been following the channel for a while, then you know that we already have a cars playlist out there. And all of the cars there are standing because that's kind of your morning routine. But when you change the position, so my shoulder car standing versus how it is right now in quadruped, you're going to change the strength curve. So meaning that you'll actually affect different parts of the joint because they're going against gravity differently. So for this part, I feel more of that posterior or the back of the shoulder stuff has to work because it's going against gravity to keep my arm up. Versus if I was standing, I'd have more of the top of the shoulder stuff. Get yourself one more good rep. Really emphasize that rotation. Squeeze the block between your knees as well. We really like to use as much of the bioflow or of our body as we can when going through this type of movement because it just helps us stabilize and keep the motion honest in the joint we're trying to move. External rotation. So same thing as before, you may have a difference on left and right. That's okay. Maybe you're a baseball pitcher and you find you have way more on your throwing arm, which is very common in your other. And if you don't feel a stretch, again, try to check your body position. Make sure your spine is relatively straight, your elbow straight, and you're leaning slowly into, in this case, the left shoulder.
I feel like my ankle here is deeper. Like I can get deeper with this arm.
Yeah, your arm's up higher too.
Yeah.
And even if you don't feel a stretch, because maybe you just don't know how to control your body, or you're somebody who's extremely flexible, but that isn't necessarily a good thing, you could just be in a relatively normal range that we have and still do the isometrics. Over time, you'll learn to control your body and get a better stretch. So same thing, inhale, exhale.
There's a lot of value on, relaxing and doing that passive stretch at the beginning. So really take your time.
Yep.
Don't rush through that.
Sometimes we don't do it as much in our classes because we want to keep the flow of a class. But if you're practicing on your own and you want to do some isometrics, it's a great idea to do beforehand to actually sit in that passive stretch for a while and then do the isometrics. All right, let's start a Pal's contraction. So feel that tissue in the front of the shoulder. Acknowledge it with tension by trying to drive the stick into the ground.
Squeeze the block.
Squeeze. By the way, you're thinking about trying to rotate versus pec down. You want to rotate down, just to be as specific to the rotational component as we can. So rotate down. I want you to work into 80% effort if you can. 70 to 80% effort, something that we can hold for 30 seconds. Think of like a heavy set of 5x5 if you're coming from the traditional strength and conditioning world. Squeeze the block, keep everything tight. Are you timing us?
23 seconds.
Okay, because I lose track of time and we do like a set for like 2 minutes.
Gotcha.
Let us know when to switch.
How much?
We did 30 seconds.
Okay, so switch
Okay,
rails.
So, yep. Rails, try to think about lifting the stick off the ground, squeeze the back of the shoulder stuff. Don't go through your lower back. If you want help with that contraction to figure it out, you can almost let go of the stick a little bit and think about what do you have to squeeze to keep your hand exactly where it is. Don't move through your wrist. Neck should be relatively still. Holding this for about 30 seconds. Where are we at, boss?
And let that go.
And when you're getting out of a stretch, take your time.
Yes.
No one wants to get injured getting out of the stretch. If you're going to get injured, you might as well be doing something cool.
You said that already. We already got out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So however
Well,
you
next
did it.
time. All right, and same thing. Now we got kind of both shoulders primed and internal, external, so this Egyptian should feel a little bit better. But we'll do the same thing, just taking our time.
Did you come up with a name?
No,
You saw something?
I think it's a dance.
Oh.
You know those, like, so it's one of those cases where, like, I've been training and coaching people for a long enough time that sometimes you rediscover things you used to do with a different lens. And this is something I used to do as part of my joint mobility stuff that I did, before I found cars.
I mean, I'm used to you getting weird names for all our classes and drills.
And it's not super specific just to the shoulder, because obviously you have the spine, but it's not bad at all. Not by any means.
The arms start getting heavy.
They do. And it only works one plane versus doing a full shoulder car, which actually activates the whole workspace.
I like it. Have a block, grab it from underneath you and put it just in front of you. Get back into that quadruped position and cross your legs. Send your hips back, kind of like you're sitting. Yeah, put your hands behind you, move your hips forward. And do we have that block underneath us already, or how do you want it?
I think it's going to be underneath the hips, right?
Yeah. The goal would be to find a stretch in the front of the shoulder. We're aiming to find that shoulder extension. So some of us would have the fingers face forward, maybe a little bit to the side. But like we said, maybe sending that chest forward would allow us to find that nice stretch in the front of the shoulders.
If you're somebody that is lacking shoulder extension, then your hands are going to be closer to your butt, probably. You'll feel the stretch. If you're somebody that is more mobile and has more shoulder extension, you essentially want to drive your hips away from your hands, which will put you in more shoulder extension, then keeping the elbows straight.
And you're not really sitting on the hip bones. You're kind of sitting more on your tailbone to generate that nice extension. Do you feel like that works for you?
Yeah, that works for me. That's great.
Yeah, I got a really good stretch here. Now, keep in mind that we're holding this for a couple of minutes. So this is why we allow that block to kind of support us here. You could be doing this in the air, but it's not ideal for...
Yeah, the reason we put the block here is so that you could also just relax a little bit into it. Because if you're holding, it's great. It's just not a full relaxed state. We'll actually get into some of that after this. But we want to find the deepest stuff, and we like to start that off usually with a passive stretch, which requires just relaxing a little bit into that position. I like breathing through it, like you said, like expanding the chest, letting go.
As I'm sitting here, I'm also noticing that if I bend my elbows a little bit, I still feel the stretch in the shoulders, but it allows me to be more comfortable in my wrist. So if that works for you guys.
All right, I say we start getting some work in. We've been here for a while.
Good. You want me to keep the timer with me?
Yeah.
Keep us honest.
Okay.
Go.
All right, so start to squeeze your fingers into the ground as if you're trying to pick up sand. Okay, so you get some stability there. Then imagine trying to slide your hands down to your hips. As if you're coming out of the stretch. Again, that's going to be a Pale's contraction, so we're trying to squeeze all the tissue that's being stretched. We'll work up to about a 70% effort. While you do this, hold the position. So you're trying to fight yourself leaving the position.
Halfway there.
Keep going. Talk to all that stuff in front of the shoulder. Hold.
5 seconds more.
Whew.
2 seconds. And now we're reversing, bringing the heels of the hands back. Hands away from the glutes.
Think about squeezing the back of the shoulder stuff, the triceps, as if you're just trying to lift your hands back. If you were standing straight up, you're just trying to lift your hands behind you, like you're reaching back. That's the same kind of muscles that you're firing.
10 more seconds.
Oof.
5. Remember to let go of the tension slow, like now.
Very nice.
The next thing would be to lift your glutes away, get that block out of the way, come back.
If you need to shake some blood in your hand, that's fine. I felt like I needed to.
Okay.
Okay.
Before we start moving, make sure your body becomes a fist, so completely engaged, and start lifting the hips off the ground, bringing the heels towards the hands, hand toward the heels, lifting away. And with that same tension, allow the hips to touch the ground. Same thing. Heels come towards the hands, hands towards the heel. Lift. And slowly get back down. How many do you want to do?
Let's go 5.
Okay.
Nice and slow like that. I also find too that I like to lean back towards my shoulders while I do it. Lean over.
Okay.
You can also lean away if you want to take some load off. Keep going. Stay nice and strong. Elbows are straight.
I'm going through some shaky parts. That just means I'm a little weak there.
If you're not shaking, you're faking. We always say that. Last one. Make it your best rep.
Go slow. Challenge yourself. Almost
Chest up.
Hold there for a second. And then it's down.
Oh.
Hi, nice job. Cross those legs again. Should we bring the block with us when we need it?
Let's bring it.
Okay, so block in front of you. Hands go forward into quadruped. Uncross the legs.
All right, go ahead and sit back. We've got, last thing we're doing is going to be what's called a swimmer. Kati's going to show the hard version. I'm actually going to do the easier version. That's how I plan it out. All right, so essentially she's lifting up. Elbows will bend. She'll explore that extension. Then we swim back. You'll see that she goes through elbow flexion again, elbow extension, and then swims back to the top. So this is pretty much all the facets we worked with external, internal rotation of the shoulder. So you could do the harder version with Kati, or you could do the easier version with me. We're going to explore this for about 3 minutes. Got my timer here.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
And go. So elbow flexion, elbow extension, nice and slow, swim back. We may do the first rep together, but pretty soon you're going to have your own pace, flexing your elbows, reaching back, extending your elbows, and then swimming back. So now the goal is go super slow and then just explore as much as you can. Don't rush through anything and really take this time to learn more about your shoulders and hover, like stay around where you find the areas that are weak to you. So if you find that you can't reach back as much, you're a little weaker there, hang out there for a little bit. Think about all of the stuff we did. We did internal rotation, external rotation. We did extension. Two minutes left. We're 1/3 of the way there.
Why is this difficult, the hardest? Because the floor is in the way, I guess, right? Or
Well,
gravity is also pushing on us?
Yeah, you have, because gravity is pushing down on your arms at a longer lever for most of the time. Versus what happens when I stand, like when it's up here, like for me, that's in shoulder flexion. So I don't have as much gravity pushing down on my arms. It's just pushing down on my fists.
I just want to know one thing. How come I'm doing this and you're doing that? And no vice versa?
Somebody's got to coach, you know, I got to make sure everybody's around here. I'm a shepherd, I got to tend to my flock, you know.
I guess someone's getting better shoulders.
The reason that, look, if I was doing that, I wouldn't be able to crack jokes like you are. That's why you're doing the hard one. I'm already having all of my my challenges here.
I feel like I'm cheating if I talk.
You're just extra laughing at my jokes so you don't have to do it. Okay, we have less than a minute, okay? We have less than a minute to make as much of a difference in our neurology and biology as we can. So take your time, real slow, lots of tension, about 40 seconds left. Keep going.
He's right. Sometimes
15 seconds.
I don't know how honest you are with
Sometimes
the
I
time.
blah, blah, blah. Try to get one more good rep in. You deserve it. This one's for entropy. Fight it off with effort. You'll thank yourself in 20 years that you did an extra rep. That's what I like to think about. Finish strong. Finish long.
Okay.
All right. Feeling pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I feel all this around the shoulder.
totally. This class utilizes what we call internal training. It's about training the body from the inside out. If you want to learn more about it, you're going to want to check out this next video.